Welcome to the Innovation Leadership online course. My name is Malcolm Tyson, and I'm so excited that you're here. I'm even more appreciative of you deciding to join me on this journey. And what a journey it will be. This course is jam-packed with valuable principles, practices, and tools that will 10x your innovativeness, whether you're in a corporate role or you're a full-fledged card-carrying entrepreneur. Before we jump into the material, here are a few tips to make this experience as best it possibly can be. First, be present. Be in the moment and take advantage of it. Next, limit or eliminate distractions. Mobile devices, social media, and email will prevent you from having your best experience. Next, have an open mind and receive the value that this course was designed to provide. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave a note in the review or send me a direct message. Okay, cool. With that out of the way, let's jump in. I'd like to begin with a story of a man of considerable discipline and ambition, a man of tremendous vision and passion, a man that experienced a number of failures that for most would eliminate them from the possibility of success. But for this man, it only solidified his resolve. This man experienced success that changed the lives of generations to come. Now, despite having the qualities that most look for in leaders, this man would regularly micromanage his employees. And despite having the success that gave him a 20-year head start on his competition, this man discouraged any deviations from his original design. At one point, this man became so insulted when one of his engineers brought him improvements to his original design that he destroyed the prototype with his bare hands. You see, the same discipline and single-mindedness that gave this man clarity to achieve his dreams were the same qualities that made him intolerable and stagnant as an innovation leader. This man was so attached to the product that he dreamt about for so long that he was unable to conceive that his design could be improved, which almost ruined his company. This man is Henry Ford, one of America's greatest innovators. For many of us, Henry Ford is a great source of inspiration as we come up with new ideas and new approaches, as well as when we overcome denials and failures. But let us also look to Henry Ford to understand what not to do in leading innovation. While he had no doubt asked questions in the concept development and building of the first Model T, where was that value on curiosity once he realized his dreams? As innovation leaders, we have the distinct privilege and responsibility to challenge the present for greater futures for as many people as possible. Let's not rest on our work that we did yesterday, but question it today for a better tomorrow. You're here because you want to lead innovation within your business, or you want to build an innovation strategy or innovative culture within your organization. Your life will be different after taking this course because you'll be exposed to the ways to enhance financial performance through innovation leadership principles, practices, and tools. And you'll also have a better understanding of innovation overall. To that end, we'll cover a number of areas in this course. For Module 1, we'll talk about innovation types that you can implement with your team or your business, the innovation continuum, which describes innovation as a process and not just an outcome. We'll talk about the innovation matrices, which are tools that help you tie the innovation types and the continuum together. And we'll wrap up with keys to developing an innovation strategy. Sounds good? Well, let's jump on in. There are a number of innovation types that will be effective in your market to increase revenue and value creation. But because we don't have time to discuss them all here, we're going to focus on these 4 main types. And if you really think about it, all innovation types can be traced back to these because all of them are developed outside of normal business operations and at any point along the business lifecycle. In other words, innovation is independent of operations, yet dependent on life cycle. All right, let's jump into these innovation types. Starting with the upper left, we have business model innovation. Business model innovation focuses on new ways of delivering your products or services to new or existing customers. This can be a fundamental change in the way that you do business, or as simple as an adjustment to an aspect of the way that you do business. Next, we have service innovation. Service innovation is concerned with new ways of delivering services or a new service offering to meet customers' needs. And this happens to be my favorite because I've spent the majority of my career both providing professional services as well as studying them. Next, we have product innovation. And product innovation is probably the most familiar to you all because it's the most common type of innovation type. This involves an enhancement to an existing product or a totally new product offering to meet customers' needs. Lastly, we have supply chain innovation. Supply chain innovation really is focused on an enhancement to an existing supply chain or a new supply chain member that improves the efficiency, the safety, and the value of the products or services being delivered. Again, this is not an all inclusive list of innovation types, but it gives you a basis of understanding of all other innovation types. Let's press ahead, shall we? Let's talk about innovation continuum. Okay, so I mentioned before how innovation works outside of the boundaries of normal business operations, but works within the limits of the business lifecycle. With that said, there are a couple of schools of thought around innovation. Some think innovation is a singular activity that produces favorable outcomes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are others that think that innovation is a part of a larger continuum. That includes me. Continuum is a sequence of slightly different elements that are really different at the extremes. So on one end, one extreme, you have radical innovation. And this is the game changer. This not only changes the industry, but it changes the customer that uses the product or services. On the other end of the continuum, you have incremental innovation. And this just really takes advantage of what you already have by making it better. Let's go in a little deeper on the innovation continuum elements. Along the innovation continuum from left to right, you have disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is it's where the industry as well as the participants change. It's that disruptive. So think of Uber's effect on the transportation industry. That's disruptive. You also have discontinuous innovation, which changes the way the products and services are consumed within the market, like a different delivery method, if you will. Think of mobile computing and how it's changed just about everything that we do, from grocery shopping to exercising. Moving right along on the continuum, we have improvements. And improvements aren't always considered innovation. But if we're talking about making our businesses better, then it's innovation. This could be anything. For example, improving the efficiency of your accounts payable processing, or even streamlining the decision making processes that you employ within your businesses. The key here is we are improving an existing aspect of our business. That's what an improvement is, and that's an innovation. At one end of the continuum and closest to incremental innovation is continuous improvement. And continuous improvement is a cultural shift that looks for improvement opportunities throughout the entire business. So, for example, we would look at business operations, for example, and look for areas of inefficiency. Or we would do a gap analysis against industry best practices. We would work to close those gaps and then continuously assess how we're doing to improve efficiencies. While there are far more elements on the innovation continuum than are represented here, these are the most common. And again, this gives you a solid understanding of innovation overall, innovation types, and the innovation continuum. Let's move on, shall we? And talk about how we can bring it all together. A practical tool that helps bring the innovation continuum and innovation types together is the innovation matrix. With an innovation matrix, you can assess where your innovation initiatives are now compared to where you want to go. In other words, it measures your innovation potential. As you can see on the matrix, along its y-axis, its vertical, is the innovation continuum, which we just talked about. But also on the innovation matrix, along its horizontal axis, you see the range of performance impacts on the business. Those are organic and strategic. Organic impacts are those that come about accidentally or without consideration for the ripple effect throughout the business or other parts of the business. The strategic impacts are those that improve the organization's ability to generate revenue, uh, perform efficiently, and increase value. Now, the range of organic to strategic impacts may not be as far apart as you might think when you consider an idea or concept or approach that is stumbled upon but has huge strategic impacts. This is especially true for growing companies and newly established teams. Overlaying the innovation matrix, we have the innovation component quad. The component quad speaks to what you'll need in terms of business model and technology to develop your innovativeness. However, if you're looking at this from a planning perspective, this is a great way to assess the innovation components where you want to go compared to the components that you have now as a company or a team. Let's go a little deeper into these tools and talk about keys to developing an innovation strategy. If we go a little bit deeper, we can use the innovation component quad to start thinking about an innovation strategy. If we add market and technology awareness to assess our degrees of awareness, we become more purposeful in developing an executable strategy. If we want to move from our existing model and technology, we have to shift the object of our innovativeness from inside the firm to the external market. Now, as you can see, this is a progression of market and technology that starts internally but ultimately produces externally. Thus, the objective of our innovation strategy is to impact more lives by making our products and services better meet the needs of our current and prospective customers. To start that progression, we need information. And we've obtained some information through the development of innovations within the firm. But you know the saying, information is power. And after all, we live in the information age. And with enough information about the problem in the domain, we can start to define them. And And then we can begin to craft and refine an innovation strategy to solve the problem or problems within as many domains as we decide to pursue. In other words, our innovation strategy should enable us to decide what innovative approach makes the best business sense to move forward with. You see this happening in the healthcare, financial, and retail industries as companies have come up with innovative solutions to solve long-standing problems within the industries and improve our quality of life. All right, we're at the end of this module, um, and you should have a better understanding of innovation overall, as well as being exposed to a number of innovation leadership principles, practices, and tools. To recap, in Module 1, we covered the four most common innovation types. We talked about the innovation continuum and the most common elements on the continuum. We talked about the innovation matrix, as well as the innovation component quad. And we wrapped up with keys to developing an innovation strategy. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Until next time, remember, excellence is a habit.